Hi, and welcome to the Business of Adulting. It's a monthly podcast where we demystify innovation, entrepreneurship, resilience, mindfulness, and mental health. So, we spend a lot of time talking and trying to answer some of the questions relating to building and creating sustainable businesses in a very competitive world. And we not only focus on that, we also spend a lot of time trying to understand the well-being and the mental health of entrepreneur, because it's very important for us to also understand how you keep up with your day-to-day operations, the pressure and all the challenges that comes up with businesses, because we believe that and know, having walked this journey, that building a business is a very difficult it's a very difficult endeavor, but if done correctly, it can actually bring us a lot of opportunities, and we can solve a lot of challenges today, day-to-day challenges that are facing the world. So today I'm with Sivwe Vuta, as you already know, and I'm Sipho Tikweni. We have a pleasure to be meeting with Blessing, the founder and the CEO of Respo. I think we're gonna hear from him shortly what is Respo and what it is all about. But it's doing something very amazing in the emergency space. If you're living in the rural communities, you understand that we have a lot of challenges regarding street addresses or physical addresses. It's very difficult. So if you happen to need an ambulance and you're living in those areas, it's very difficult for those people to easily locate you and get in time. So for you, if you are in a medical emergency and you want to get help, the chances of you are actually dependent on the speed at which you actually get attention from the ambulances and the others that provide those medical emergency services. But we're going to hear a lot and more about this interesting endeavor. This is one of the most exciting solutions that is coming to solve real world challenges, especially in the rural communities and townships, because that's where most of these challenges are. But before we can delve into that, I will give it over to you, Sviwe, to just greet our audiences, and then we're
Yes,
gonna give it over to Blessing to introduce himself. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you for that, Sipo, and hello to everybody listening. This is a special episode. We've been promising you guys that we're gonna have a guest, and we've eventually managed to land someone. So this is a groundbreaking episode. This is one for the for the history books, Blessing. So thank you very much
Yes.
for joining us. We are looking forward to a really interesting engagement. Having read through a bit about Respo Technology, I have a lot of questions, as I'm sure will a lot of our listeners. But like
Mm.
Sipo says, this is a really interesting concept that you came up with, and one that promises to bring real measurable value to people in marginalized communities. So I'm really looking forward to understanding what gave you this idea, what inspires you as an individual, and
Mm.
maybe you can refute some of the claims we've made in the past, as just being myself and Sipo, and you can bring to light, some of the genuine experiences that entrepreneurs in South Africa experience. You can just clarify some of the assumptions we've made. You coming from a different walk of life. And one of the questions I'm looking forward to getting insight from you with is, how would you like business support services to assist entrepreneurs like yourself? I work in the business support services sector myself, and I'm also quite a passionate entrepreneur. And this is a question I've just been throwing out to entrepreneurs, and it's interesting how many different answers I get. And I'd be looking forward to getting some insight from you on that one. But yeah, thank you again for joining. Looking forward to an interesting engagement. Back to you, Sipo.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, viewer. And to our listeners, please do subscribe and also share the session with your colleagues, your loved ones. This is a very interesting session. I hope that you learn a lot. Do share our podcast and spread the word. We have something very interesting going on in here. So, Mr. Blessing, thank you, sir, for making time to actually meet with us. We really appreciate that. And it's something that we've been talking about, I think, for over a year now, trying to see how we can actually get to have some of entrepreneurs that are solving real world challenges to come and share their journey with us and also tell us some of the challenges as well as the opportunities and the luck, because I think in everything that we do, there has to be an element of luck that comes with it. It doesn't mean it's only luck. Luck is actually attracted by hard work and also identifying the opportunities. And most importantly, is to actually try to find solutions that solve our real world challenges. This is a very interesting solutions that we've come up with, and you're solving a real challenge, having uh, being the person who also stays in the rural communities or was born in the rural communities. I can attest to this is a really challenge. So it would be interesting to see how you have validated this challenge and how did you come up with your idea and how far have you gone in terms of the development. But I will just give it over to you to introduce yourself and also take us through Respo. What is Respo? What is it all about? And provide more details as much as you can. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for the opportunity, guys. Thanks for actually having me here. It's a lovely day on a Sunday, so at least the mind is a little bit relaxed. Yeah, so basically, just to give you a little bit of a background with regards to myself briefly. I come from a small town called Eshowe here in KZN. I stayed in the rural parts of that town as well. Endaweni eyase they call it Mdalas, right?
Okay.
So just grew up in the farms. Used to go to the river to fetch water in the morning
Mm.
before I can go to school. We used to herd cows and everything. The rural life. So
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, so firsthand you get to experience the difficulties when it comes to emergency response because you're living in areas where by access is so difficult, right?
Mm.
So, however, I studied there at Showe, went to Showe High School, which was the modern C high school in that town.
Yeah.
After I graduated in 2008, I moved to Durban. All right, spent most of I've been in Durban ever since then, 2009 up
Mm.
until now. So, as as a student in Durban, I studied civil engineering, and then I dropped out after my second year. I tried it very hard, guys. I tried to even go on the field and see whether will this thing work for me or not. But I quickly found out that there was absolutely no passion for this. And the reason I
How
did
did
that was,
you how did you end up in the civil engineering only to realize that there's no passion for that?
look, it was outside influence. It's not really something that I had much interest in, because I had lost my mother during my grade 11
Mm.
graduation. Right. So moving into matric, we struggled a little bit at home in terms of resources, and
Mm.
then the neighbors you could see that were actually having a decent life. Their children were civil engineers, so there was a
Okay.
boom of civil engineers in that space and time. So I actually wanted to be a physiotherapist, right?
Okay.
So my aunt told me, look, there's an opportunity because your grades are decent. You could be picked up for civil engineering. So I just went for that. That was the
Mm.
opportunity that I thought could quickly take us out of the situation we were in, right?
Mm.
But
Mm.
when I got there and I started doing it, I did it in class, passed my first year, went on to trying field services on the second year, and then I just couldn't do it anymore, bro. 3 weeks into civil in serve, I just quit. I just
Okay,
quit.
very
And
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, because I had a much bigger drive for entrepreneurship. You know, I could see that I was much more passionate about that part, that side of things, because I had already started selling products on the line, on the side. Basically, I was selling anti-aging products. I don't know whether you know this company called New.
Yeah, I have a bit of knowledge about it.
Yeah, there was an
Mm,
old white lady that I had actually met during varsity. She had actually
mm,
invited me to one of these business meetings. So I got intrigued in that. That was my first taste of venturing into a business. So tried that out, dropped out, had a horrible business there as well. But I was still passionate about business. And
mm,
then
mm,
after that, I think it was 2013 or 2012, I met some Chinese guys as well. Those Chinese
mm,
guys were very much interested in buying businesses locally. They wanted to buy taverns. They wanted to purchase butcheries. So I became a broker at that time, trying to assist them to find businesses, right?
mm, mm.
So I would hustle, make contacts because I could speak English, and they were having a tough time translating what they actually wanted. So
Okay.
that relationship evolved, and then it actually evolved into a partnership with them. Um, they had another side of the business of which they had a buyer to actually export meat overseas. So they said,
Okay.
look, you've been assist yeah, they said, look, you have been assisting us sourcing this type of businesses. How about you help us source suppliers for the meat? Right.
Mm,
Spent 3 years with them, got a nice opportunity to travel throughout the country multiple times, meeting different kinds of people. So I think that was my exposure to the actual landscape of the country
mm.
at that point in
Okay.
time. Yeah. So you could see different things, different areas, communities, the different levels of service, different levels of living standards as well. So I
Mm,
did that for about 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then eventually the market got saturated because these Chinese guys, we started the market with them, and then the other ones, once they saw that, oh, there is a business or opportunity here, they started saturating the actual market, also demanding the same products. The prices went up and up until it didn't make business sense anymore. Funny enough, by that time, I was very much interested in moving into something much more scalable, and that was tech, right? So that's because I was busy chasing meat, but at the back of my head, I was like, I need to venture into this tech space. So um, I decided to go independent at that time. Took all of the savings I had made with the Chinese to try and build a multi-vendor platform to allow businesses to trade online, right?
mm, mm.
What-
And,
Yeah.
and and what year was that when you were building a multi-vendor platform? I would imagine that in today's term we call that as these marketplaces.
And Amazon, yeah, basically Amazon, right?
Okay. Mm,
Um, I hadn't known about Amazon at that time, um, but it was 2016, 2017, right?
okay.
Yeah, so I think I had about between 40 and 50K. I sourced a developer, tried to get this thing done. Unfortunately, IT for me, in terms of building product, it was still a taboo thing. I didn't know
Okay.
what were the processes, what needed to be followed, and all of that. So we spent an entire year and a half with my developer trying to build one interactive page.
Mm-hmm.
and and you can imagine and you can imagine that 50K is gone by then
Mm-hmm.
because we had to rent, we had to do everything. So when I had the actual realization that this thing was not gonna happen anymore, I had to take matters into my own hands, right?
Mm.
I was then forced by then to learn the skills myself.
Okay.
Fortunately, I was at an environment whereby there were other developers, there were other graphic designers, there were other guys who were actually we had built friendships and relationships with because we were at the Smart Exchange incubation,
Okay. Okay.
right? So I learned the skills. I said, look, it's time to sort of humble yourself and just pause this multi vendor platform for now. Just try and work on something that's gonna help feed you. So
Mm.
as we started servicing clients, we started servicing website development clients. We started servicing customers who wanted graphic design, posters, and so on and so forth. Right. But then, even though I was still doing that, I think around that time, I was able to save up again another 40,000, right, doing that, right. So fortunately, there was an opportunity, to say, look, if you guys have innovative ideas, come and propose them. I think it was a no, it was a tier supported innovation call out, right?
Mm.
But it was administrated via Smart Exchange. So I was thinking, look, yes, I'm providing these IT services. I'm able to make some money. However, I need something bigger. I need to do something which is actually bigger than myself. So on Sundays, I would normally take a walk to the actual beachfront.
Mm.
Right, I remember it was around December or so. So when I walked to the actual beachfront, there was some commotion there, right? And then only to find that there was a guy who was actually stabbed at the beachfront.
Okay.
There was a whole crowd of people around him. There were also lifeguards as well, trying to help in stabilizing the guy, right? There were also police officers there as well. And the funny thing is, there was no ambulance. This is not in the rural area. This is not in the township area. This is
Yeah.
in town by the Durban beachfront. We've got nice hotels there, right? So the crazy part is when I was actually walking towards the beach, I had passed by two ambulances there, just parked,
Ish.
right? So when I get there, when I asked the guy that when did this actually happen, they told me it's been a couple of minutes, about 30 minutes. This guy has been actually laying here. The police can't put him in a van. The lifeguards can't do that. And to make matters worse, the hospital is less than a kilometer away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then the ones that actually knew the guy eventually called an Uber, right, to come and take the guy because they could see that the ambulance is not arriving. So they
Mm.
called an Uber and took the guy to the actual hospital, right? And this actually sparked something in me and said, look, this whole situation could have been handled differently and much more efficiently. right? Because in situations whereby life is at risk, seconds matter. You cannot have a
Mm.
situation whereby a person in town whereby a response average time should be no more than 15 minutes has spent more than 30 minutes laying on the floor bleeding, right? So Uber had just popped up at that time, right? And it was a nice concept, but it was only utilized in the taxi, in the taxi industry, right?
Yeah, mm, that's on a
So
commute application only. So it had nothing to do with the response and all that.
exactly, it had nothing to do with emergency response at that time,
Mm.
right? So um, we went back, reworked the actual application, right, and proposed this concept. And we did research as well, right? We saw
Mm.
that there were some guys in Kenya. Um, I think they are called Flare,
Okay.
who had a similar system working for them in that area, right? So I said, perfect. This can do a lot of good because when I saw this, it pulled up a trail of all of the other times whereby we were in the farm areas whereby we
Mm.
had difficulties receiving an ambulance, whereby we were putting people in our wheelbarrows to take them to the neighbor's house so that so
Yes.
that they so that they could at least get some transportation. So I thought about, okay, this is a messed up situation, yes, in the urban areas, but I was reminded of how worse it is in the rural areas,
Mm.
right? So we made our application. Fortunately, we were actually approved, and then we started working on the Respo application, the Respo system, and that's where we are right now.
So just tell us about Respo. What enables Respo, and what's the catch about it? What's the value proposition of the Respo?
All right. All right, so basically, Respo has been broken down into two phases, right? We've got the Respo B2B model, which actually supports emergency services providers with the necessary software to run their own operations and also support their own communities as well, right?
Mm.
However, that does it actually covers the market whereby people can still afford to pay for the private services, right? And then we have just broken out and working on another phase now, which speaks to those people who cannot afford it, right?
Mm.
Who cannot afford the 3,500 rands per trip, the people who are not on medical aid, the people who are not living in areas that actually have proper addresses, right?
Mm.
So that is the impact side of the actual offering, right? So with that one there, we are looking to actually reduce the subscription for a private ambulance to about 10 rands a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Respo is a multi-tenant platform that enables emergency response services who wish to take the advantage of the GPS location, because I think the most important part about Respo is the location intelligence. Remember, in rural communities, you do not have street addresses or any of the physical address, so it will be very difficult for any of the response guys to easily get into you. because they would have to come, keep asking people, where can I get to this place and all that. So Respo, what it does, it has a location intelligence in it, which allows them, the moment you request as the user, they can easily get the GPS location of where you are and easily navigate into the location. That speeds the time of response and then. And also it enables them to keep the details and to have a proper database of their clients within their solutions. So this is a two-way platform, which also you have both a service platform which speaks to the emergency services as well as the consumer one. So the consumer guys can actually tap into an app when they have an emergency service and request an ambulance that is within their location, so it can easily reach out to them. But it's not only about there's also now, and it's not only about the ambulances, there's also now an element of security that is actually involved in there. Would you want to unpack a bit about the element of security feature that has been actually included in the system?
Yeah. Look, I think when you speak of say security, I can touch on two things. Number one, um, if we are still speaking on the actual ambulances, right? These days we have ambulance hijackings,
Mm,
right? Ambulances when they're actually called out, especially at night, and then they find themselves having to ask around and say, where is this? Do you know this house? And so on and so forth, because people just called and said we are here, right? So in those situations, the ambulances end up getting hijacked. So having a precise GPS and a customer profile, or perhaps a client profile, it takes the ambulance straight to the actual location, preventing
mm,
these unnecessary stops, right?
yeah.
In fact, one of the service providers was telling me that one of the ambulance guys were actually hijacked when they tried to stop and have a pee by the side of the road in one of the areas here in KZN. That's how bad it is sometimes, right? So they because the actual assets that they have on the actual ambulance are worth hundreds of thousands, not to
Mm,
mention the vehicle itself. Right.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that is one element. The second element is this. We have the manner we have created the actual app. It doesn't only allow ambulance companies. It allows various responders, and that also
Mm,
includes security companies. Security companies can also join the platform to actually enable their own businesses, right? By providing their actual clients with an easy to use mobile app to actually reach them, right? Because currently we know security works mostly on protecting assets, stationary
mm,
assets, for example. If you are protected by maybe blue security, they're protecting your house, right? They're
mm,
protecting commercial property. But what if you're in a situation whereby you are a woman, you are stuck on the road, and then you do not have a service that
mm,
actually links up, whereby while you are still working, waiting for somebody to help you, or perhaps you are still busy trying to change a tire or something, right? To have a security company to be there with you, meaning protecting you wherever you are at that given point through
mm,
communicating via a GPS location, right? These guys can be able to keep you safe in that space and not only protect you when you you are actually home. So now instead of just providing home and commercial security, security companies can also add value into their current offering by adding personal security in that
Wow.
sense.
That's a very interesting one, because yeah, we know that the security protection services has always been very rigid in its way of doing business, and also focusing on assets and all that. Now, this now brings protection to everyone. Even if you are within your street, you can easily call when you need support or you need protection for security. You can easily call them through the app, and then they easily reach. They instantly, when you request them, they can easily understand or see the location of where you are at, and they can easily get to you. So that also brings time, response time in terms of the protection, not only for assets but also for human beings, which I found it to very, 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 very interesting. And maybe where you might want to come in there also.
Yeah, no, certainly. In fact, I was speaking to a colleague of mine just last week, and he was telling me, he's one of those fitness junkies, and he was telling me about a service they now provide at his complex. That if you want to run outside the confines of the complex, then this complex security will actually deploy some security personnel to drive behind you. And this was informed by some incidences that had happened in the recent past where the residences of the complex had actually gotten into trouble, when they were jogging in the early hours of the morning, and happened to encounter less than friendly people, to put it mildly. So I think this is a
Yeah.
very interesting concept that I'm certain that will have huge utility in a country like ours. Well, we all are aware of the crime stats and so on and so forth. So if security companies have an opportunity to add, value down to the most granular level, if you're speaking
Mm,
about
mm, mm.
personnel, then I think it's something that's fantastic. But we've spoken a bit about Respo, Blessing, but I'd like to take you back just a little, if I may. You said something very interesting earlier when you were giving an introduction, and I want to tie it to a question that relates to entrepreneurship in general in the South African context. You said it was predominantly outside influences that informed your decision to pursue, civil engineering when you may not have had it as a first preference. You said you would have much rather gone into medicine, but I want to I'd be interested to hear your take on how, because I mentioned earlier that I was in the business support services sector, and one of the things that we actively try to promote or are advocates of is entrepreneurship. We want to, as much as we can, drive entrepreneurship so that it's a feasible career option for the youth, especially in a country like ours that has such high unemployment numbers. And so we are trying to be that outside influence that drives people into entrepreneurship, that makes entrepreneurship an attractive career path. But the World Bank did a survey recently where they found that entrepreneurial interest in South Africa is as low as 20% compared to about 40% in the continent and 60% globally. Now, and this is a debate Sipo and I have had in the past, and I'm not sure if we've come to a conclusion. But in your case, would you say that you were a born entrepreneur? You were in a way shoved into civil engineering, and in 2 years in, you sort of resisted because you knew that this isn't something you wanted um, to do for the rest of your life. So would I be correct in first assuming that you were a born entrepreneur? And is the work that we try to do in business support services futile if then entrepreneurs are only born? Or is there a case to be made for influencing people and being that outside, external influence for people to take on entrepreneurship as a viable career path? So yeah, I'd be interested to hear your take on that.
Look, I think people are different. Um, the For me, let me just speak about myself, maybe it can link up to a much wider view. I think for me, I've always had an interest in it, right? I've always had an interest. I've always wanted to know how it works. I've had a difficult time um, following the path that everyone else followed, right? I wanted to do even in entrepreneurship, maybe hence why I'm in the innovation space, right? Uh, I did even when I did entrepreneurship, I didn't want to do what everyone else was doing. I wanted to look at what to take on new challenges, right? New a new way of actually doing business, which I could say, okay, this one was actually created and paved by us. So I think there are different kinds of entrepreneurs, and they all need different types of assistance as well. And innovation, right? Innovators, they need support early on in terms of not only providing them resources, but also the right business structures, because we often spend a lot of time playing with the actual idea and living in our cloud nine, not
Mm.
practically going into the world and testing the solutions, right? Whereas there are other hustlers like my other friends who are in the entrepreneurship space who are providing services, right? Those guys, they go out, they sell services. The best that they need is probably resources to actually produce quality product, right? And they also need training because I was sitting with one of my other friends as well. He's been running a printing business for more than 5 years,
Mm.
right? He doesn't know his actual margins, right? He hasn't sat down and calculated his actual margins. His business has been coming in, going out, and the main reason for that, it was because when he got money, he spent it all on the things he needed at that time. He wasn't saving. He didn't realize the scope of his business financially. So I think the best thing to do in terms of assisting entrepreneurs, number one is to first dissect where the actual entrepreneurs falls into. It's very easy to categorize and just provide a rep solution. That way, it will not work. You must first understand what type of entrepreneur you're actually dealing with, and also the level of which the actual entrepreneur is at. Because what worked for me as a innovator in 2018 will not work for me now in 2023, right? The different levels, the different stages. So I think for the guys who are providing assistance is to dissect and understand the people you are actually assisting. As to promoting entrepreneurship, because we have to promote entrepreneurship now, we're almost forced to, because realistically speaking, there is not enough jobs for everyone. That is just that's just facts. So people
Mm.
will have to find it within themselves to grind. So now there are different levels of grind again. There are levels whereby I set up my spaza shop, for example, right? And I service my community. That one is a necessity, right? Those people are providing a necessity, right? It's different from someone who says, look, I'm gonna go to Joburg or perhaps Cape Town and create the next startup. So we must understand the levels of entrepreneurs and what they actually need. So I would say investment in what the entrepreneurs need, and then match that against what other countries are doing as well with
Yeah.
those type of entrepreneurs. Because in our space, the innovation space. Other countries, they really embrace innovation and they take risks in
Mm,
innovation. The ecosystems are there and everything.
yeah.
So yeah, that is
Yeah.
my take on.
Yeah, no, a lot of profound interest, insights there. And I mean, you've lived at least a few lifetimes. I mean, you've been in business with Chinese people chasing need, um, developing Amazon before you even knew about it, and you bootstrapped your first business. You mentioned that you laid down 40 to 50K,
mm,
where you
mm,
spent a year and a bit trying to build one interactive page. And you speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, and they'll tell you that what they need more than anything is funding. But when you actually analyze the situations, you realize that this person doesn't need funding. They need a viable business model.
mm, mm,
Because a lot of the funding they will direct to working capital, and not invest the capital in acquiring assets that will grow their margins and so on and so forth. So whereas I think the standard response is, as an entrepreneur, I need funding. Um, what would you say entrepreneurs should be looking to acquire? You've spoken about training, so that people actually understand what the hell is going on in their business. And you've been a part of an incubation organization. What do you look back at, from your incubation experience and say, I am thoroughly grateful for that, eternally grateful for that? And what do you look back and say, shucks, so many years after the incubation experience, I wish the incubator had exposed me to A, B, C, and D. So what are you eternally grateful for from your experience, and what do you hope that experience included, which it didn't for whatever reason?
Yeah, I think what I'm most grateful for in the incubation space is being provided a space to sort of crawl, to crawl and be
Mm,
able to start forming to like a level whereby we can start standing on our own feet. And then secondly, it's the people you are busy crawling with as well. They come in
yeah,
with different skills, different resources. So honestly, I would not have started the service business without the people there. you know they
yeah,
taught me literally not I'm not even talking about the actual program, sorry, the actual incubator. I'm talking about the other incubatees in there.
yeah. I see.
All
So,
right.
so you would say incubation gave you an opportunity to network, which
Yeah,
is one of the most critical skills or critical elements that you need when you are building a business, because you can't really do it on your own. And one of the most important things we need to be mindful of is to actually leverage resources. And leveraging resources is to actually tap into the people around you, or even use resources that do not belong to you but can be outsourced to quickly move and build your business, and actually get it out there to people's hands. So I think it would be interesting. In fact, it's very interesting that you actually advocate for that particular opportunity that the incubator gave you to actually network and build relationship with other entrepreneurs. And I think this is one of the key things that we need to spend a lot of time in trying to build networks and relationships as entrepreneurs. Because if you have networks, you can easily tap into other people who might have access to the networks that you do not have, who might introduce you to other people who might have interest in your business, who might introduce you to other developers who might quickly build your solution and easily get to the market. So there's whole lots of benefits that you can talk about when you talk about networking. So we really need to stress as entrepreneurs the importance of actually building the proper networks, which are going to help us. And also, it's not just about us, also what value can we bring to our networks, because it has to be a two-way. So it's also very important in that. I didn't mean to cut you. You can continue. I just thought it's important that I can stress that out.
Yeah, no, man, absolutely right. The networks are extremely important, and also the actual environment. You know,
Mm,
the environment of because
Like-minded
if
people.
mm,
like-minded people, space of people who are grinding, servicing clients, everyone here is on the same tip, basically, you know. So that one was very much helpful being part of that
Yeah.
incubation. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely imagine that, based on conversations I've had with people who've been through similar programs, and I
Mm,
sit back and I think, it's like you are in the front lines of a war, and you are looking, to your left, to your right, and behind you, and there is someone around you, who's walking right beside you, in the trenches with you, who knows your struggles, because entrepreneurship can be a lonely journey.
mm,
yeah.
Um, and I think an element that goes with it is also the pressure, that comes with it, and the positive competition. We might be in completely different
Right.
industries, but if I'm seeing you, on a positive trajectory, then I am encouraged, to really figure my stuff out, and try to, keep up with what's happening around me. And that, with that comes accountability, because if you're on your own, then you are accountable to no one.
yeah.
If you don't do anything for 2 months running, then you don't answer to anyone. But if you're in that space where you are walking along other people on their individual journeys, but in a similar direction, then questions will come up. What have you done? Just out of
Mm,
interest, I was a part of a book club, and the name of the book club was "What Are You Reading Now? What book are you reading now?"
Mm,
And that provokes you to want to pick up a new book to read, because you don't want to be answering the same question for 2 months running when other book club members are on their third book already. So
mm,
it's that
mm,
it's self invited pressure, but that really reinforces your desire to keep going, um, and want to achieve more. So, Blessing, going back to Respo, you talked about two services, one being a B2B
yes.
business that is, in many ways, keeping to the status quo of, private health services, and people who are insured, who can afford those 3,500 amounts per trip, and so on and so forth. Then you spoke about a subscription based model where interested parties could subscribe for as little as 10 rand per month, so that should they require an ambulance service, they can quickly log onto the app, and IT will do IT things, and their profiles will emerge and determine that this is a person who qualifies for, to receive these services. I'm interested in the back end financials and the modeling. Therefore, how did you reach the amount of 10 rand? And does this apply to township communities as it does to rural based communities? Because we know that's an entirely different conversation. Yeah, so you mentioned that it's from as little, and I'm also wondering if there is an array of costs, ranging from, maybe as little as 10 rand to maybe as high as 300 rand per month, whatever the variables are. But if you could just unpack the subscription-based model for us in more detail.
Yeah, look, this subscription-based model was actually worked out with the service provider. We have a profit. We actually have a split with them. All right. So we have an agreement with them to actually provide a monthly subscription for 10 rands. However, they keep X and we keep another X of that, of which I cannot disclose right now, right? So, but the whole concept is worked around numbers, right? We have a large. I think at the present moment we've got about less than 30 million people living living with under the actual poverty line. These are people who are making less than, if I'm not mistaken, less than 1,000 rands a month.
Mm.
Right. So these communities, obviously, if you're charging them large amounts, they cannot be able to actually afford that. These are people who have to make a decision between purchasing a meal or purchasing data. Right. However, to also support that, we've got a structure in place in terms of sponsorship. We're busy setting up an actual NPC right now, and we've got other NPCs to actually work with to get sponsorship for these communities as well. So we are working to target numbers in that regard. There's another institution of which I think I mentioned to you, Sipo.
Mhm.
It actually targets these communities. These community members, most of them
Mm.
hold bank accounts with this institution. So filtering the service through that type of an institution, and also help us reach the actual numbers as well. But again, we are faced with a situation whereby we cannot raise the price too high. We can only be able to multiply the number of people that actually come onto the system to actually make a business out of it.
This model was developed with a service provider. So we're
Yeah.
talking about an emergency service provider, right?
Yes. Yes.
So this emergency service provider need to have clients in a certain region. So say around Durban, and they want to have everyone who's in Durban to subscribe to them on a monthly basis of 10 rands. So that
Yes.
allows them to have a database of those clients within that particular region. And those clients keep paying that 10 rands a month. And if they have any issues, emergency issues, they tap into the app and
Yeah.
request the response or the emergency response from the service provider that we are working with. So whatever
Yes.
number that these guys are making on a monthly basis, if they have 30,000 clients, whatever amount of money that amounts into, then there's a revenue sharing model that has been crossed between the two. So the key
Yeah.
important thing here is to provide a service. So it's more of a social-based innovation that allows people to be protected at a price point that allows them to easily pay without having to decide if am I buying data or am I buying bread. But they know that when there's an emergency response, an emergency need, they can easily quickly tap into their phones and they get the response and they save lives and all that. So which is very interesting model. And that takes us back to understanding your pricing strategies as entrepreneurs. How does that work if you can actually help some of the aspiring entrepreneurs or even ones that are now venturing into entrepreneurship? What is the most, why is it important to price your solution and products right? Because if you don't, you're either gonna close doors or clients are running away from you. There's also a
Yeah.
challenge of balancing between charging, overcharging, and undercharging. How do you balance within those? Because it's also very important for the sustainability of the business, as well as ensuring that you actually retain your clients. Because if you have your prices too high, you won't be able to retain your clients. But if you have your prices too low, the clients start doubting the value of the service that is being offered to them. How did you and your partner, or in fact your service provider, to how did you decide on this price point?
All right. Okay, just to maybe okay, with the current impact model, it's actually a risk sharing model in a
Mm,
way. So you know that within 1,000 people, these people, it has been calculated that they are most likely, out of 1,000 people, there will be four people who need an ambulance a month, right? So I think that is 0.0004 or something, right? So if you are collecting 10 rands from 1,000 people, you know, that gives you a figure of how much the actual ambulance company is able or perhaps how much risk budget has been allocated towards the actual response, right? But in terms of in terms of costing the actual product, we try to start where everyone was actually at. Namola, which is our competition, they're charging about 50 rands, right? 59 rands. But with them, they were focused on the urban and peri well the urban areas, right? People who do have some form of like an income, right? So for us, that is not our market. Our market is really impact based for those people who do not have much. So
Yes.
we cannot cost the same way as what those guys are actually charging. We have to find a best way which can work for our specific market, right? And then once you link that up with the right partners in terms of providing the actual numbers and the right model, right, that actually works for you and doesn't undercut you in terms of, well, okay,
Mm,
fine, we are just working to grind the actual wheels only. Then you
mm,
have an actual business model, because we are tapping into a market Namola is not really existing in, and any of the competition as well. And we are going at it not only with 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 a custom made solution for them, but also the right strategic partners to service those communities, because some of the competition in our space, they sell you a subscription. For example,
mm,
they say, we will actually charge you 59 bucks. We will provide you ambulance and security, only to find that after they have provided an actual, they've only got a limited amount of time they can be able
mm.
to dispatch an ambulance, right?
Okay.
After they actually do that, they start billing you now as an actual individual.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so there's a lot of dynamics that goes into what you're actually providing. So you need to know exactly what is your offering, and who are you offering to. Know the people you are actually servicing, and what you are actually offering them.
So it's very important to have a clear understanding of your market, and
Yes.
also it goes to empathy, because most of the time as entrepreneurs, we, especially innovators, we much more excited about the innovations that we are building and the tech that we're coming up with, and we forget the element of empathy. So, and that plays a critical role to actually getting clients that are going to help you build your business and find scalability and growth in the market, which is one of the key things, because you are starting this business for sustainability and to be in this game for the longest term. So it means
Mm.
now the relationships that you're establishing with your clients, it goes back to understanding their needs, to understanding their demographics, to understanding their standard of living and where they are. That allows you to now come up with a proper pricing strategy that is going to actually respond to them without forgetting about the importance of the service and why you're existing from the first place. Because I think the most important thing is the impact that you have. And once your clients see an impact, or they see the value in what we are actually providing, it becomes very easier for them to stay with you. And also, you actually touched on a very important point to actually identifying the right partners to work with, strategic partners. How do you identify those partners? And when you're answering that question, you can also touch on the tips of identifying and building a winning team. How did you build a team that you currently work with within Respo that is so much more involved, and this team is having a clear vision and a goal as you are as the founder of the company? Because there's a saying which says companies will ride great companies will ride on the spirit of their founders. But then how do you ensure that the value and the vision that you have translate and gets into everyone in your team, and they know that we have a serious problem that we have to solve in here? We have to keep working. How do you ensure that you keep them motivated, and also they know their responsive roles and the end goal of the company? How did you find the perfect team to actually work with? Because I think it's one of the key challenges for entrepreneurs to identify the team or establish a winning team when they're building the solutions. And if you happen to have a team that is not good or not aligned with you, rest assured the business might fail. So if you can just give us an overview, or just touch on how did you build or find the right team for you?
All right. I think before I actually respond there, I mean, our slogan is making emergency care accessible to all. You see, that all part we really mean it. Hence why the
Mm,
10
mm.
words description. Right. We
Yeah,
really
yeah.
mean that are all. Right. But in terms of finding the right people, look, currently we do not have a big team.
Mhm.
Fortunately, the people I'm working with, I have had the privilege to know them before, you know, and fortunately, the amount of work they were putting into their previous jobs, the quality of work they were actually producing, right, convinced me enough to say these are the people I need to have on. Might not have a big team, but at least if I can get these guys, we can be able to produce quality. Because I had been in a situation whereby I had a lot of people around me, especially in the actual early days, right?
Mm, mm.
A lot of people around me, but you end up running around like a headless chicken, trying to ensure that everybody's doing what they are
We're
supposed to be
supposed to
doing,
do.
right? So so I don't know whether I can dive into deep regarding that. However, I think for me it's been a little bit of uh, maybe I've been fortunate to be in a situation whereby I had some knowledge about the people that I've actually brought in. So I've just surrounded myself now with people I can leave alone to do their job, and then we can I can just project manage. You know
And
what I
that's
mean?
very interesting, because what is being said is that building a team takes a lot of time. It's like when you're finding a partner. You need to first court those people, get to understand how they present themselves, how they conduct themselves, and all those things. So it's the same as building a team. You need a lot of time to spend with those people. Luckily for you, it's people that who have been around you a lot of time, so you were able to actually get to understand who they are, their living styles, their working styles, and also it was easy for you to share the vision that you have for your company with them, which is very important. So for any of the founders who are out there, spend a little bit of time. Don't just hire, spend a little bit of time, and also don't just bring people on board. Try to understand, to see their working styles, to see if the way that they conduct themselves and their vision is it linked to your vision, because also plays a critical role in there. So I think that's a very interesting one. So where you want to
Yeah,
come in?
yeah, 100%. I think you want people who have brought or bought into the idea, who believe in
Mm,
it. You know, as much as you do, or at least very close to that level, because we have with different individuals. But I think you want people who believe in the dream. But I mean, how do you get it right? I think that one is out. The jury's still out on that one. But
Yeah.
maybe linked to this question, did you want to say something, Blessing?
Yeah, no, no. I just wanted to say, look, as much as one has been fortunate to find those people, we have had some very difficult times, whereby we were not sure what tomorrow was actually bringing. But
mm,
as a leader as well, you have to inspire hope in terms of making people realize what are we actually working towards, and what does tomorrow look like. Because sometimes when you only look at what is happening now, you might find yourself in a bit of a discouraging space. There are no funding available, there are no resources. You have to grind for like months and try and keep everyone afloat. So it's communicating with your, especially the first line team, making sure that they are always aware what is happening, where are we, and then what are we expecting in the future, and what are we working towards. So
mm.
communication as well is
Yeah.
extremely critical.
Clear channels of communication. Yeah, I think to the analogy that Sipo made, in trying to find a partner, you want to play, you want to lay your cards out on the table, so that we all on the same table. No one is trying to outfox the other. We're being
Mm,
genuine here. We're all on the same team, working towards a common goal. This is what the situation looks like. And I think that then opens opportunity to get input and insight from the team for how we can, grow from this point to the next. But maybe just to be a little bit silly, Blessing, I know that we are probably, Sipo, nearing the conclusion of the episode.
yeah.
Blessing, you've, again, I said it earlier, you've lived the life of or you've lived at least a few lifetimes already. I mean, you spoke about dropping out of university. I mean, that's an experience on its own. Um, you selling taverns to Chinese, running with Chinese, chasing meat, experiencing stabbings. Like you've been through a lot in your short lifetime. But have you taken all of that into account, and the person you are today? Um,
Mm,
Locally or internationally, who do you look at? Like which entrepreneur, to be specific, and someone ideally prominent, someone we all recognize. Who do you look to and say, "Damn it, this guy or lady, is doing it right." And one day, I would like to more or less get into their into their frequency, into their vibrating frequency. Not to say copy them, but who makes you believe that this can happen, and who do you think, damn it, this guy's or this lady is brilliant at doing their thing, locally or internationally?
Well, it'll be a few people. However, I've always been a fan of hip hop. You know,
Oh yeah.
I know, I'm not gonna take you into the tech space immediately. Let's start here
mm.
with the origins.
Yeah.
Hip hop. 50 Cent has been the guy for me.
Oh yeah. Oh, Philly.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has transformed
Yeah. I
his
mean,
life, all of the
yeah.
obstacles he ever had. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can totally see it.
Yeah.
Given the timelines you gave us for when you were at high school and when you went to varsity and so on, I can definitely see the link there. And I mean, yeah, he has a really special story, right? And he
Yeah.
was probably one of the last guys who, in fact, I think he encapsulates the transition from gangster rap to
Mm,
commercial,
mm,
because he came in right at the cusp of hip hop, taking it to another level, but still had elements and the street cred, that the Tupacs, the Biggies, the Nas's of the day had. but still with the commercial appeal that Eminem was a proponent of. And I
Right.
mean, leaving that aside, what he's gone on to do as an entrepreneur, and I think he considers himself as a businessman more than he does an entertainer.
Yes,
And yeah,
yes.
yeah, no, I can totally see it. I thought you were gonna go, I thought you were gonna go with Jay-Z there for a second. 'Cause,
That's your
there's a lot of
business
talk,
speech.
especially on social media, about. I mean, there's a guy I think who gave up 500,000. I could be mistaken, or it could have been 50K. Gave that
Oh,
up to have a dinner or lunch with Jay-Z or something.
right.
And I know that a lot of people really look to Jay-Z and the moves he's made. Okay, last one.
Mm.
And this is more the serious end. For Respo, what does the short to medium term success look like? And then let's throw that 10, 20, 30 years ahead to the ideal position. You spoke a little earlier about some of your network partners or friends who refer to themselves as hustlers, and they are just vested in moving product. What has great market appeal at the present moment? How can I find a position in that space, and how can I capitalize on that opportunity? Versus someone like yourself who is more of an innovator, and someone whom I would assume has longer term thinking, but building one brick at a time. So short to medium term, what does that look like in terms of success? And 10, 20, 30 years from now, Blessing, where is Respo and what's the ideal for you? Are we talking international takeover? What is it that we're looking at?
Right.
Yeah,
So short.
maybe just before you come in, to our listeners, please remember to subscribe, to like, and share the episode with your colleagues. You can follow us on various platforms, LinkedIn. You can also follow us on Twitter as well as TikTok. The business of adulting is here, and we try by all means to demystify entrepreneurship, innovation, mental health, which is very important for entrepreneurs, as well as resilience. We're living in a very interesting time, which resilience is very important. Just before you get into Sue's question, I think you can tie into where Respo is now in terms of the current customers that you do have and the activity thereof in the platforms that you do have, and then you can tie in into the bigger goal or the bigger picture of how does the medium and long term look like for the company.
And maybe
Right.
close it off with how people can get a hold of you on the socials should they wish to engage.
Mm.
All right. Cool stuff. Currently, Respo has 17 private ambulances registered on our systems. Shortly in the next month, we will be launching a pilot in King Tetwayo for the actual B2C model,
Well,
right?
okay.
So sort of testing that one out, and then infiltrating it into the actual rural communities.
Communities. Mm.
So, but we're doing it in a controlled environment for now, right? So that at least we can get the necessary feedback to get something that is actually solid. However, the private ambulances companies, for them, it's pretty much they're currently utilizing the actual software as a service part to actually cater to their existing customer base right now, right? What's the next one? Where do we want to be um, in the near future? Right. So basically, after we are done with the pilot and everything, we want to do a rollout here in KZN and hopefully the Eastern Cape next, because I understand Eastern Cape there's a serious resource issue in terms of ambulances. So
Mm.
I've been wanting to actually do something that side. However, due to resources and everything, we must start close here at our home, right?
Mm.
Uh, we're looking also to potentially having our own ambulances, in a short to medium term, to position them in areas whereby it's hard to get a service provider stationed there, right? In
Okay.
the long term, look, in terms of providing efficient emergency care, right? Let's be honest. I pick you up with a private ambulance, and then what? You know what I mean? I take you to the closest available hospital, right? Then even if you do get a private ambulance to immediately admit you and then stabilize you, then the
Mm.
next day or once you're actually stable, they have to move you into a public hospital, right? So we want to build quality standard hospitals that can accommodate the all again, supported with the same model, so that we no longer just transport a person, but we are able to really take them to good quality facilities that are supported by the same model to ensure that our people are getting the best quality care throughout the whole chain of an emergency response.
Mm, mm.
That's
No,
amazing,
that's
man.
yeah, that's really beautiful. A very interesting outlook in there. And then, would you want to give the listeners your contact details, how they can get hold of you, and and
Yeah. Well, my direct email is blessing at respo respo .co.za. I'm available on social media as well. Facebook, it's Blessing Nzuza. Instagram, at the real blessing.
wow.
Right, and then our company socials, Facebook, it's Respo Tech. Instagram, same, Respo Tech. And we have LinkedIn as well, Respo.
Yeah, but please, guys, if you like in Joburg and your friend gets stabbed, don't DM Blessing to come pick your friend who's been stabbed in Alexandra. It's not gonna happen.
I've
But
actually,
again, yeah,
I've had multiple situations like that where people just send me a direct WhatsApp. I just said, bro, you know, you're kind of requesting too. It's a little bit too late for this. You should have signed up, you know.
yeah,
So
there
yeah,
are
but with
processes to these things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
so what are you doing to get into the other provinces, especially the Gauteng province? I know that you were also doing something with the community police forums and all that, and the security companies. I think there's a whole lot of opportunity in there to be exploited, not only on the medical emergencies, but the risk side of things and security. What are you doing to actually get into the other provinces or the likes of job and market? I just think about what Vo has been saying. These guys, for sure, they are spending a lot of money now in terms of the operations, having to follow me because I'm running. But if they had this platform, they can easily see, okay, now this guy is running, so they can easily monitor. And if there's any issues, they can easily see and then quickly get into you instead of being following you the whole time when you're running.
yeah. Look, the software as a service part, that one it can be implemented even for a company in Europe because of the way it's actually structured. There's absolutely
Mm,
no limitations on that one there in terms of location, right? So it's a simple and straightforward plug and play system. If you are running an emergency response company, and you need a tool that's going to help you improve communication between you and your customers. It's just to sign up. You are given a unique code. That code you share with your customers, and they can use the code to link up with your company when they download the actual Respo app. simple and straightforward, right? On the actual impact service, that one requires certain partnerships and also a certain reach, right? So that one needs a little bit of more care in terms of just going out there and promoting it nationwide, right? We need to build that one up block by block. So we've got two sides to the actual business. So yeah.
Yeah, so if you are in the Gauteng regions or wherever you are and you need this platform to have easy access to your clients and them to easily communicate with you, do reach out to Respo. They have something amazing with you for you. You don't necessarily have to be in KZN. That one will speed the process of your response time to your clients and it will make your life very easy. And by doing that, you're also improving the value of the service that you're offering. So please do reach out to Blessing and the Respo. And for more information, do reach out to Respo through their platforms. You can reach out through their emails. Like he has indicated, it's blessing@respo.co.za. You can also check out their social media pages and follow them. You can check LinkedIn, you can check Twitter, you can check Instagram as well as Facebook. So there's a whole range of communication platforms that have been built for you to easily reach out to this amazing solution that has been built out for you. Parting shot from you, Blessing.
And no, sorry, just
Uh,
before Blessing comes in, Blessing, the name Respo, does that mean anything? Where does it come from?
Look, we played around with the word response, so I thought it would be cooler to just cut off the last
Oh,
part.
uh-huh.
Just make it
All
quicker.
right. Okay. I know. Sorry, my mind's a bit slow. I didn't catch on to that one immediately, but it makes absolute sense. So even the response is cut short. So if you want quick response, go Respo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an innovation in there, which also plays a
Yeah,
critical role in how you actually name your company. Maybe that would be a topic of the other day.
yeah. So
So
back to
over to
you,
you, sir.
Blessing. Cutting short.
Yeah, look, man. What I'd like to say is, for all of the innovators and the entrepreneurs out there, it's not an easy journey. It just requires perseverance. It requires you to always keep your eyes on the ball. So just keep on grinding. Meet with people who can actually help you elevate your game, and always be on the lookout.
Mm.
Stay sharp.
Okay. No, thanks a lot, Raspo. It has been a blessing. It has been really amazing talking to you and hear your journey in the entrepreneurial space. And we hope that what you are building will pick up as sooner than we think and also help to save lives, have the impact in both rural and also the urban communities. There's something of value that is being built in there. We really appreciate having time with you. And to everyone who has listened to us, please share the podcast with your colleagues. Please do sign up, like, share in all social media platforms, and also follow us. Let's grow this child together. They say it takes the whole village to raise an African child. So let's all come together, build this amazing vehicle which allows us to actually vent, talk about our own challenges, and also share experiences and opportunities and the wins that we do get along the way. So it has been really amazing to actually talk with Respo. Sphere
Yeah.
over to you, sir.
Yeah, no, I think the two of you guys have said it all. I think just for me, one of the biggest takeaways and something that I hope lands with our listeners, those whom are aspiring entrepreneurs, is that remain observant all the time. You know, see what's happening around you and see how you can be of help to your community. Respo started after Blessing observed an unfortunate incident where someone laid for some time before he received assistance. And he then formulated that into a business. And I'm really inspired by his motive, you know, and the slogan and the
Mm.
the brand identity of Respo to include and encapsulate all people. Yeah, so see where you can add value. If you're going in it for money, my one of my mentors actually enjoys saying this. I don't know how many times he said it to me, that money should be the consequence and not the pursuit. You money should you know should you should generate money because of the value that you add. So start with the value, and then the money is gonna come as a consequence. If you start with money in mind, sometimes it won't always go as you hope to. So yeah, truly blessed by that blessing, and thank you so much for spending some time with us, sir. This has been fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, colleagues, check out the business of adulting across social media platforms as well as Respo Technology. Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it,
much.
guys.
It has been really amazing to be with you. Thank you, Respo. Thank you, Blessing.
Thanks. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.